Welcome to Inside the Vault, Enterprise Bank's podcast series where we talk about items of interest to the small business community. Today, we're going to discuss a topic that has been top of mind with a lot of small business owners and the public in general, which is artificial intelligence, AI. With me today is Michelle Fontana, who's a managing director at EY in their People Advisory Services group. Michelle did some training for some of our bank and club personnel a few months ago on artificial intelligence. We thought it'd be great to have her come in and talk to our viewers and listeners. Welcome, Michelle, to Inside the
Thank you
Vault.
so much. Thanks for having me, Dave. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So before we get into the topic and the discussion around AI, give us a little bit of your background and
Sure.
what you do at EY. And I think everybody knows what EY is, but talk a little bit about the company.
Yeah, I think people think they know, but
Okay.
sometimes it's a little surprising how much we actually do. So I come to EY after spending about 24 years in industry. So I come to consulting after a long tenure working on the business side of things. And it's been really fun the past couple of years coming to consulting side and being client service. EY does a lot. I think a lot of people know us as an audit and assurance firm and a tax firm, but we have a very large consulting practice. And I sit within that practice. I focus primarily on what we call people consulting, primarily HR transformation, HR technology. And the technology piece is kind of what we're here to talk about a little bit today.
And that kind of integrates into
Yeah,
HR,
and
which we'll talk
it
about.
sure does. It sure does. So excited to be here and to have this conversation about AI. I think such a great topic, especially for small business owners, because at the heart of AI, it's really meant to make people better, more productive, and allow them to do more with less time.
Right.
And so excited to get into that with you here and fire away.
Sure, sure. So let's talk in general first.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence. So,
Yes.
I think the first thing that comes to my mind as, a consumer or member of the public is ChatGPT.
Yeah. Everybody loves it.
But AI is much more encompassing than just what we're used to seeing in terms of, researching on our PC
Sure,
information.
absolutely. So I think there's a couple of different things that people think about when they think of AI. So there's AI, artificial intelligence, and that is I've got lots of data and I'm going to feed it to some engine and it's going to help me drive insight, make a decision, make my decisions smarter and more predictable. And that's really your AI and in terms of, you know, having large swaths of data. So if you think about there's probably people out there that like to bet on some football games
Not me,
or things
never.
like that, right? And that has become one of the areas where there's so much data available. There's statistics, there's data, there's how did this team perform against that team, and there's just swaths of this data. And
So you're
a
explaining to me why
person,
I can't beat the
you
lines.
cannot, you cannot, but a machine might be able to because they can analyze that data much faster, more efficiently than you can. So we joke around, but those in generating insights in a super short period of time with tons and tons of data and making it predictable, predictive analytics, that would be an example of AI. An example of what we call Gen AI, so that's generative artificial intelligence. That is content creation based on, again, feeding something swaths of data. So when you think about Gen AI, that's where Chat GPT sort of comes in. You're generating content based on what you've taught the machine. So when I call customer service line or I go into a live chat agent and I say, what is the status of my concert tickets? It's going to be able to look, it knows status, it understands concert tickets, it knows who I am, it can look up my order and say, your tickets will be arriving in 3 days or whatever. That's an example of Chat GPT or generative AI. And there's a whole bunch of applications to that. But those are kind of the very basic examples of AI and the differences between AI and Gen AI.
Well, the topic is, top of mind with everybody, both in the business world and in the regular world. Um, how fast is this whole genre of technology growing?
So fast. So I can give you one data point for reference. And at EY, we do a Work Reimagined survey every year. We started about 5 years ago ish to understand human behaviors in the workplace. What are the trends? What should we be looking at in terms of HR professionals and businesses? And one of the questions is what percentage of the respondents are using some form of AI in their everyday work? Last year, the answer was 24%. This year, the answer was 75%. We're talking about a 3x increase in just a 12-month period. So it is fast and furiously getting broader and much more uh, frequent and widespread.
So obviously, the awareness is increasing at a very rapid rate. I'm assuming the tools, the software, the technology itself is increasing at a similar rate, right?
Yes, so fast. I think that one of the things that we talk about in this space is I like to call questions about AI from leadership a handful of glitter because somebody walks into a room and says, "What about AI?" and they throw a handful of glitter. And my answer usually is, "What about it? What are you trying to do?" Because even though AI itself is a new thing, generally speaking, your business problems are not new. And so the overwhelming feeling of, oh my gosh, I have to go learn about AI and what am I going to do and how am I going to do it? You already have problems to solve. I guarantee that anybody that's listening or watching this right now can probably think of three problems. And using AI to try to solve your problems, think of it as another tool in your toolbox and not this whole, mysterious world of stuff that I have to go figure out. And I think that if you can start there, it's a great place to start.
So, kind of getting ahead of our conversation here about implementation, I guess, like everything in business, you identify the problem first
Yes,
before you look at all the possible solutions. And this is just another potential solution, right?
for sure. And if you don't even know where to start to even try to identify problems, you can start by one of your problems being, I don't know a lot about AI. Okay, great. So that's a problem you've identified. You can actually use AI to start to upskill yourself on AI. So just for
Sounds like
fun,
an infinite loop to me.
it might. It is not. It's actually a very real use case. So just for fun,
Hmm.
I actually opened up our AI tool at work, and it's Microsoft Copilot. I'm sure many of you listening have access to Microsoft Copilot. Even as an individual user, you can do this. So I opened up Microsoft Copilot and I said to Copilot, "Hey, Copilot, I'd like for you to create me a LinkedIn learning journey to learn about AI." And then I said to it, "Please ask me clarifying questions." So, one of the great tips that I have for your listeners is when you're using AI, ask AI to ask you more questions because then it will think of questions relevant to the question you just asked, probing questions to make you help educate the artificial intelligence better.
So it's a two-way street.
Yes, it's always learning. Machine learning is continuously learning, even when it's generating your answers,
Interesting. Never thought about it that
right?
way. Yeah.
So, when I asked that question, I asked the question and then it gave me some courses to go look at. And then it asked me further questions. It asked me, how much time do I have to devote weekly to my learning? It asked me, how do I, are there any, ask me, if are there free resources, additional free resources for AI? And so I clarified and I said, I have 2 hours available per week. I just made up something, of
Yeah.
course. And it gave me additional suggestions, additional learning, additional things that I can get to from LinkedIn Learning. And when I asked about a specific course, it also said that's not available on LinkedIn Learning, but you can go here to get educated on that thing. So, using AI to learn about AI is actually a really great way to start and solve one of your business problems, which is I don't really know much about AI.
Interesting. Interesting. So understanding that this is all driven by problem solving and identifying your goal as a
Yes.
business owner. What are some common use cases, let's say in the small business world, where a business owner or a manager in a small business, you know, might employ AI?
So glad you asked that question because I actually happen to have an example right in front of me here. So I asked AI, I would like some great tips on writing a post on LinkedIn to promote my small business. You can use AI to
Yeah.
get you some of those tips. So I did that and it gave me a whole bunch of ways I can do that. And then I asked it to ask me more questions. It said, "What kind of small business are you?" It asked me, "What type of post do I want to write? Am I launching a new product? Am I launching a new service? Am I a new business launching myself for the first time?" And so as I asked it more, it asked me questions and I gave it more answers. It gave me more and more concrete, very specific examples of how I can use AI to help me write content for LinkedIn to promote my small business. So that was just one very small example.
Neat. Neat. Well, and then the one component there, when you talked about using AI, let's say for sales, marketing, promotion, I think a lot of people, not just business owners, think AI make me more efficient. Maybe they're thinking about cost reductions, but they're not thinking about the revenue generation potential of AI.
Yes, that's such a great point, Dave. So when I asked it, and I can give you some really clear examples here. So, for example, it said, "Hey, if you're launching a new product or service, it tells me exactly what to do and tips I should follow. Highlight the unique benefits of your service. Use engaging visuals and a clear call to action. So, here's exactly what you can go do with my service. Here are some benefits if you use my service. Here are some great customer testimonials or success stories that you can post." And it will even help you with the creation of the copy of the actual words. Now, here is where human beings become very important. It needs to be your voice. So it can give you a draft, it can help you with this content, but it needs to still be authentically you. So if it sounds robotic and it sounds very canned, that's because it's a machine
Hmm.
and it's not you. So it can help you get to that draft so much more quickly, but you still need to be you and put your own voice to it. So I would say that's one of the very important tips as you're doing things like this to keep in mind.
So it doesn't necessarily give you the end result, but it gives you a much further advanced starting point than you would have
For
starting from
sure.
scratch.
Absolutely. You can ask it for, hey, create me an outline for a training that I would use to train people how to take care of this plant. Okay, it's going to do that for you. But you aren't going to probably use that and claim that as your own instruction. You're going to use that as a draft. You're going to go through it. You're going to say, "This isn't my voice. I can fix that." You can do something very similar when you're writing performance reviews. Maybe I'm writing a performance review about you, Dave.
Uh-oh.
And, and I'm going to say, "Hey, Copilot, write me a review for Dave. He's done all of these great things, and I list all of those things. He's increased our revenue by 10%. He has created sales training that's been super effective for 30 different employees." And I can be very specific about all the great things Dave has done. And that Copilot will take all of that very specific information about you
Hmm.
and create a very, very effective draft. Then I can, like you said, I now have such a further advanced starting point. I can really spend my valuable time on the parts of that that are valuable to you as my person who reports to me.
Right.
And that's my very specific insights about you. I'm starting with facts and data,
Hmm.
but now I can really be personalized and spend my valuable time on the personalization. So I can spend 15 minutes on this great personalization instead of spending 35 minutes on writing all of this facts and data
Right.
down and all of that. So thinking about, how do I work better? How do I work smarter?
Now, there's also obviously there's the personalization piece and the tone
Yes.
piece, but I'm assuming also there's some danger in taking machine generated data through AI and not reviewing it and making sure that it's accurate
Yes.
because I've always been taught my whole life garbage in, garbage out.
Absolutely.
So again, that's where the human touch comes in, right?
Yes, for sure. So you just don't want to take something as face value. You want to go validate if you're getting stats and things out of a tool like that, you want to pay attention to two things really. Is there a citation of where that data has come from? Is it a credible source? And then can you go and double check that source on your own? I would highly recommend doing that. If you're getting data and it has a citation from the Wall Street Journal, issue number, whatever, whatever, it's probably pretty good, but it doesn't hurt to go check the Wall Street Journal and make sure that that's actually coming from there.
Right.
So I do think that your observation's spot on, which is trust but verify.
So obviously, you know, with cybersecurity, data integrity concerns that all businesses at all levels have these days. I'm assuming you can use AI to pull data from your own organization, not just from the public domain when you're researching specific topics and different things. It can basically be, I'll call it, and I'm as a layman, closed AI, where you're using your organization's own data, maybe supplementing it with outside intelligence.
Sure. So there's a lot of questions about this today. So there's a lot of sources out there today around ethical use of AI, responsible use of AI, however you want to call it. And if you think about PII, so in our HR world, PII is personally identifiable
Right.
information. So anything that is not necessarily publicly available about me or you or other people. And that's an area where we really want to protect people. We don't want that floating out in the ether somewhere unprotected and encrypted. So when you're doing AI and you're plugging into your business data, you do have to very much be aware of and employ your cybersecurity rules and any of your access provisioning rules to the engine that you would apply to a person who has access to that data.
Yeah.
So that is
And
absolutely important.
I guess what I'm trying to do, Michelle, is alleviate, small business owners typically are very private individuals about their company data.
Right.
The fact that they're using AI does not mean that data is going to be out in a domain where others, competitors, or other people that don't have
Correct.
privilege to that information can
That's
access it.
correct. But there is always, I would always say that that business, whoever their cybersecurity folks are internally, should always be reviewing the compliance of any AI tool that you're using internally to make sure that they are not, by virtue of agreeing to use the tool, also agreeing to put data into open AI domain.
Gotcha.
So it
Gotcha.
is definitely something that should be very much validated, very much checked, very much ensure that they are not opening their business up to unnecessary risk exposure.
Right. So, we talked about the revenue generation potential, the sales improvement that can come from utilizing AI intelligently.
Yes.
Let's talk about efficiencies.
Yeah,
And
let's.
that's where it kind of think ties into your other role at EY from an HR perspective in making employees more efficient. My understanding from the little dabbling I've done is it's really good for repetitive tasks.
Yes. Anything that's digitized and repetitive is a great use case for AI. And specifically in the HR world. So let's say you own a small business, you have to recruit 3 people. That's a lot of work, especially in a market where there's a lot of availability or when there's very limited availability and you have to really comb through resumes. Using AI to read, quote unquote, read resumes, to read postings, and a machine can read through 1,000 postings in seconds. Takes you or me hours and
Just picking
days
out
to do that,
keywords
right?
and
Picking out keywords, picking out number of years of experience. So you can teach the engine. I would like you to find 3 to 5 years of experience. I would like them to have gone to a 4-year college. I would like them to have, worked in the banking industry. I would like experience doing commercial lending. You can give it the nuggets to look for so that you can get through swaths of resumes quickly. And that's a very low risk use case also because you are going out to public domain and finding data. You're not putting your data
then
out.
you're interviewing and
Correct.
refining and
Exactly. And
gotcha.
then you're doing the refining, you're going
Right.
through the short list of, 10 resumes and you get that down to your 3 interview candidates.
Right.
So I think that's a great use case, especially in the HR domain for sure,
And
to
it
be able
sounds
to
to
do
me like
that.
that's probably kind of a leading business discipline in the AI world as
Absolutely.
employment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's very common. It's a very common use of tools for
S-
sure.
So, what are some other kind of repetitive tasks that you've seen that have become more efficient using AI?
I think that there's a lot of repetition around just things that you think about that are repetitive tasks and they're large tasks. So, for example, I have open enrollment at my business every year, and everybody's got to sign up for benefits. Now I can go into my open enrollment, everything remembers what I picked last time. It just basically, I don't have to go through the pain of selecting all the
Right.
stuff and all of that, right? I get a reminder generated electronically from our benefits organization. It says, "Hey, your open enrollment is happening now, and here's what you picked last year. And if you don't change any of this, we're going to self pick it for you and sign you up on November the 10th." Amazing. So I do nothing. I literally have to do nothing to keep everything as it is. A lot of people do that. Or if I say, "Gee, you know what? I think there's going to be some stuff this year that's going to change. I might have a baby." I'm not going to have a baby. Clear, to be clear, somebody might, or somebody might have to have surgery, having elective surgery, or something that is going to really impact your benefit decisions. Then I can go into the tools. I can say, I want to compare these 3 things. Here are the life events I expect to happen. And then it's going to generate for me an analysis that says, here you go. If you select this, it's going to cost you this much money. This one's going to cost you this. This is going to cost you this. We recommend this third thing. Amazing. And I didn't have to talk to anyone. I didn't have to call my HR business partner. I didn't have to call my benefits helpline. And it takes the burden off of them so they can go do real value add work and really work on something that's really important. Maybe somebody had a death in the family and there's bereavement leave that has to happen. That's when you really want to speak to a human.
Hmm.
And that's when they really add value to you because they're there to comfort you, to help you through what has to happen for your benefits and all of those things, right? That's why HR business partners are valuable, not because they're, doing all this administrative work.
Right. So, as a small business owner, what are the drawbacks here? I mean, this sounds like all positive stuff. You
The
can help.
drawbacks. Okay. So I think that, the drawback is if you don't do this, you're going to become irrelevant.
That's scary.
I mean, has anybody said, email's really just not for me? I'm just not going to do this email thing. I'm just going to have my papers and I'm going to write handwritten letters to
Guess what? Your
everyone.
competitors are using the tools.
Your competitors are using these tools, whether you want to believe that or not, they're doing it. And, gone are the days, and we've talked about this offline before, Dave. Gone are the days where a robot's going to come in and take over my job. But guess what? A human who understands AI can take my job.
That's an interesting perspective.
A human can still take a human who's upskilled themselves to learn how to be more productive and learn how to use tools more effectively. They can take my job. Terminator 2 is not coming in here to take my job.
Right. Right.
but a human who really understands how to make themselves more productive and efficient and then can teach it to other people. Oh my gosh, and then we can do this cool stuff with our marketing campaigns, and I only have to spend how much money now? Those people can take
Well,
jobs.
let's talk about that. You brought something up. This is one of those areas of technology that, to me, is and we're dabbling,
Yeah.
and we're trying to learn.
Yeah.
Is does not seem to be super expensive,
Right.
from a tool perspective.
It's not because there's so much data out there and there's so many tools out there. Now, can you go super expensive and do large scale, massive predictive analytics models and all this stuff? Sure. But you're a small business. You
Yeah,
probably don't need to do that. It's not expensive to do this. There's a lot of free access to tools out there. And there's a lot of access to, I'll say, very broad tools like a Microsoft Copilot that's available to people for a small licensing cost, much like a Microsoft Office suite or something like
right.
that. And I have some articles too with some other tools that we can share with your listeners on a link with this podcast. But I think your point is well taken and it's very valid, which is you don't have to invest tons of money to be able to do this effectively.
Just some time.
Just some time.
Yep. So, and again, there's
And
no
the willingness to do it. This is the other piece, right? That
right
you just the if you're listening now and you're feeling resistant, ask yourself why.
because it's new.
It's new. Were you resistant to email? Are you resistant to online banking? I mean, online banking is awesome. I can just sign the back of a check and take a picture and send it.
Like
Ama-
anything else, a little bit of
Amazing.
time investment and learning up front,
Time, investment, and
and you
learning.
can't believe you ever lived without
And you can't believe you
it.
ever live without it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So again, there's no one size fits all, particularly in the small business realm. But what's a good implementation plan for a business owner that has identified a problem, and has done some preliminary research in this type of technology and data management could be of value? What's a good implementation kind of strategy for a small business?
I think that there's 3 steps really.
Okay.
1, identify your problem. Because if you don't have a problem to solve, you're not going to get any value out of this.
Right.
So have a problem, have a use case, as we like to call it in technology world and consulting world. Have a use case, have 2, have 3. Build a small team that are going to rally around that. Not fully dedicated, of course, but you need some champions inside of your business. Or maybe you're
Hmm.
a single business owner, or maybe you're a single proprietor, a sole proprietor of your business. Even more reason why to get involved in this because you need help if you're the sole proprietor. 2, stay focused on your problem. Because once you start to dig in and realize how much is out there, it's very easy to get distracted and go down a rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, like now I can go look at this thing. Oh, what about this? Now over here. I'm like layer 5 away from my original problem I was trying to solve. So try to stay focused and get through your problem to conclusion, to resolution, at least on that first one. And then the last thing I would say is use AI to learn. I said it already, but use AI to learn about AI. Ask it, what are my best use cases in the HR space? And ask me more questions about that. What are my best use cases on I'm launching a new service for commercial lenders? Okay, great. Then it's going to be able to tell you a lot of that. So have a problem, stay focused, and use AI to learn about it.
And then, obviously, you can speak to this. What type of support resources are available for people to help them kind of navigate this process?
Say more about that.
What do you do?
I do. I think that it's a really interesting question. I don't really have an answer. I think the answer is really about doing some research to find what fits your business and your size of business because you can hire a big 4 consulting firm to do this work for you,
Right.
or you can kind of go and find some boutique areas. If you are a small business, you can learn this yourself. If you want to invest something, maybe you hire somebody who is a fresh college graduate and they're really interested in AI and you make them your expert who does all of your research and builds your use cases for you. So there's
Which is
a
exactly what we're doing with the bank's social media right now.
amazing. I
We
did
have a
not know
young guy
this.
that's a really tech oriented that's managing the bank's social media.
I love that because you're going to find that, there are people out there who are so interested in this and they're just going to want to immerse themselves in learning everything they can about it and applying it in the best ways possible. And you'll learn along the way. And I don't necessarily know that there's any wrong way to upskill yourself or upskill your business. And again, if you're focused on the problem to solve, your investment will become very clear if your investment is going to be worthwhile to solve your problem. So obviously you're not going to throw, a $2 million after a problem of I need to hire 3 people. It's not going to make sense from a dollars and cents perspective. But gosh, if I had to pay $500 for a license on talent acquisition AI tools,
That's a quick payback.
that's a quick payback, right?
So, how can business owners or others get in touch with you or learn more about what EY does in this realm and others?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Michelle Fontana on LinkedIn. You can click on my link on the podcast information here, and happy to talk to you, connect with you, or get you in touch with the right people to solve your specific problem that have a problem.
Parting thoughts?
Uh, no, just thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for this topic. I think I get really excited when people ask about this because I do believe that one of the barriers for people to start taking advantage of this is they just don't know where to start. And there's so many places to start, but I would guess that maybe at least half the people listening probably already have access to a Copilot license or some sort of an AI engine, either at their workplace or maybe on their home computer, and they don't even know it.
Right.
So go talk to it and ask it questions and ask it, hey, Copilot, or hey, AI, what are my steps to making wine, or what are my steps to making a cake? You will get the information. But have those problems ready and just start. I think that's the key here. And don't manufacture a problem to solve because I'm sure y'all have some problems.
Absolutely. All business owners do,
Yeah.
but some great potential solutions. Michelle, thank you so much for participating on Inside the Vault. For those of you that have any questions or ideas for future episodes, you can email us at insidethevault@enterprisebankpgh.com. And you can check out this podcast on in audio version on all the major podcast platforms and in video version on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching or listening.
Thank you.